Welcome back. Well, exactly 1 month to the commencement of campaigns for the presidential and National Assembly elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission has warned political parties and candidates against the use of masqueraders, public facilities, and religious centers for campaigns. The Commission asked political parties to align strictly with the provisions of the Electoral Act to avoid sanctions as stipulated by the Act. Inec had fixed September 28 for the commencement of campaigns for the Presidential and National Assembly, while the elections would hold on February 25, 2023. And we have with us right here in the studio, Mazi Chinedum Ubioha. Good morning, Mazi.
Yeah, good morning once again.
It's a new week.
A new week and the last week of August of the month. Yes. And the the last Monday of the month as well. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Good to always have you.
Look, is it beautiful and handsome? It's my pleasure once again.
Thank you
for bringing me every Monday, and people are happy watching your TV and listening to your beautiful discussions.
Thank you. Let's hear your thoughts.
But they were asking me something which I have not been able to give them answer, but I will not say it here.
All right, we'll see behind the camera. What are your thoughts on this issue by Inec saying that the campaigns should not be taken to churches, mosques, not using masqueraders for the campaigns?
Yeah, to start with, every organization has a policy, and they have rules and regulations guiding them. Inec brought out their guidelines and said that campaigns should not be taken to worship centers, churches, mosque, and even as far as not using the mosque, the masquerade and things like that. But to me, they have a lot to chew. To me, personally, I know they want to ensure that there's no violence and things like that, but that will not stop it. If you ask me, the campaign has already started. Only that it has not been officially announced. You see people going for rally. Yesterday we witnessed that of Onitsha, Enugu, Lagos here, and so many other places, right? So to me, for INEC to say that, how would they monitor it? Will it be, is the police assigned with responsibility of monitoring it? Or what? Or is INEC sending their staff to monitor it in churches and mosques? I think they have a lot to do. Let them think other ways. But having said that, you are asking religious persons to get involved into governance. How would they go it? The Ethiopian eunuch said, Philip, how will I know if somebody doesn't tell me? If you want this, the religious people to get involved into politics, how would they know? They have to talk to their audience. They have to talk to their congregations. We have two personalities then from my church, from my Senate President Pius Anyim, and Senator Sam Egu. They're from Assemblies of God, and I think there's nothing wrong if they are allowed to go, but then they should be modernized, it should be checked, it should be corrected, it should make sure that no violence erupted. Because if you're asking me this, what about the PVC they are distributing in mosque and markets? I have advocated for that. I was in the studio sometime a few years ago. I said, what is happening in the south here? We don't distribute the PVC, even in the market, like the former ID card. National ID card. My own was brought to me in my house. So why can't INEC go from market churches to distribute PVC? But in the north, they distribute it in markets. They distribute it in a mosque. And somebody contacted me from Jos. And that person said, even now they are distributing PVC. That was last time. Even now they are distributing PVC in the mosque. So to me, INEC should have other things to talk about. Though there are penalties, there are fines and things like that, but then is it a problem? Our problem is to make sure we get good leaders, people who have good conscience, those who fear God, those created in the image of God, that will take responsibilities of leadership and governance of this country. because this country is sick.
Yeah, but apart from the threat of violence, are there any other threats that maybe INEC is saying that's making them issue these rules?
I don't know. I don't know them. They should have told us this is what we want to avoid. They didn't tell us. They said, please don't use masquerade because of violence. Anyway, don't go to the religious centers because of this. They didn't expatiate more. But how would they monitor it? That's an issue.
You had Festus Okoye, that's the Commissioner for Publicity for INEC, saying that it's entrenched in, the Electoral Act, Section 92 and the rest of them, concerning, the need not to stoke religious, feelings, cultural or ethnic feelings. And that's the reason for this, policy or decision by the INEC, that once you take campaigns to, your religious centers and all, it gets more stoked up, and that's quite understandable. Don't you think, I know you said that if we're clamoring that religious people should get involved in politics, then they should be allowed to receive the message from, fellow politicians who attend those churches or mosques and what have you. But don't you think that these religious folks can still get the message and, become politically aware without having to take the message down to the religious centers itself?
Yeah, it is possible, but then at the same time, it will make it wider. There'll be more awareness.
Okay.
Right, there'll be more awareness. You see, we want to get it right this time around. And every effort should be made. But the point you are trying to bring out is this. There might be possibilities of violence. And even though you are talking about this, what is the problem of this country these days? It's not religious. It's like tribalism, religion, nepotism, and all these things. And we are talking about pastors preach moral. You must preach moral in your mosque. And there's a way they can do it to create awareness in the mosque and churches to warn their people. Please, if you are going there to vote. Like P2B was in one of my conventions too, I think a month ago, 2 months ago. He came and said, don't vote because I'm an Igbo person. That's good. Don't vote because I'm from South. Don't vote. Vote people who have conscience. That's good advice. Vote people that you know that are God-fearing people. This, my church, we don't preach politics, but then the issue is that vote reasonably according to your conscience. So I think INEC you are talking about it. What about vote buying? Is it not written and it's against the electoral law? But we will see it more pronounced. You saw it in the Osun State, right? So even though they say this, how many persons have been arrested because of electoral offenses? Nobody.
But is the main issue the fact that they don't want these political candidates to go to the worship centers, or they don't want the clerics to influence their congregation?
There are two things there. They don't want them to go to avoid violence, and again, they don't. Even at that, was it not the same one political party now hire some bishops? You see, some of these things we are talking about, allegedly bishops, right? But we know they were not actually bishops. Why not? You don't want them to get what concerns them with whether approving the vice presidential candidate of one political party or not. If you don't want them to get involved, why do you have to bring some allegedly people that are roped? Were they properly roped? So the issue is this. INEC has a lot of responsibilities. Fine and good that it is against electoral law. But then they should, how would they manage it? How would they investigate? How would they monitor it? They can, let them not chew more than they can swallow. They have all that responsibility. Of course, there is sense in what they are saying, because people will go, like I told you, I've been in the north, and most of the violence erupted from the mosque. Honestly, without fear of contradiction. It's on Friday, with due respect to my Muslim friends, it's on Friday that they pass information. Maybe that is why INEC said don't go there. But apart from that, there's nothing wrong going there. Create awareness. Advise your people. Tell them, please, moral is important. Don't sell your conscience. It is expected that the pastor or bishop should teach that. It's expected that a man should do that. So I think, to me, they should leave that aspect. Advise the political leaders, please, have your election should have your campaign should have human face.
You mentioned something quite important, which is the place of implementation. For a commission that is understaffed to start with, I'll still have to resort to hiring ad hoc staff in terms of youth corps members. How do they even enforce this to start with? Then there's the penalty of ₦1 million for aspirants of 12 months, sentencing and all of that. So how do they even curb it? Because we've also had a subtle way of campaigning in churches where political aspirants or candidates go to either your churches or mosques, and they are given the privilege to speak to the congregation, and they say one or two things, and in between still chip in their own interest. So how can we really even define taking the campaign to religious centers, and how can that be explicitly spelled as contravening against the law?
My church invited the presidential candidate for Labour during our panel last month. Then the same Labour presidential candidate was in Redeem Camp. The same Redeem Camp hosted the presidential candidate of APC and things like that. What we are saying, what is important, what I'm saying here is this. You make laws, no implementation. Vote buying, is it not against the Electoral Act? It's there. During the primaries, you saw what happened. And EFCC, they were all over. Did you hear them arrest anybody? They didn't arrest anybody. So the police that will look the other way, even Osun State, I think that was the worst area we saw vote buying. And the reporters said that even police looked the other way. So as they, the same police that you are going to send, the key point of it is that it is good to make laws, but the implementation is what we are. Implementing our laws are defective, and it is the poor man that suffers it. So in summary of what I'm trying to say is that Inec, you have good laws. And is it not Inec that is only inconsistent in the Electoral Act that saying transmission of the result and collation of result? First to say one thing, and when people started attacking him, he said, no, you see, inconsistencies is an issue in this place. Let us get it right by making sure that, one, Inec is fair, Inec is transparent, Inec is dedicated, Inec is honest to Nigerians. Inec will deliver what the responsibility they've been saddled with, saddled with, to deliver, and make sure that the ones that are troubling Israel are wiped out by voting, no matter what happens. I think Nigerians want to get it right now. And they can, are they not traveling all over the places? Today, either it's in London, Germany, America. What are they doing? The same campaign we're talking about.
But Mazi, I think the point here is, so even if Inec has all the apparatus, they have the staff and everything, the police to monitor this
do they have
campaign. No, I'm assuming now.
When they employ them, will they pay them?
Mazi, let's assume, because I'm trying to drive home Samson's point. Let's assume that they have all that it takes to monitor. Just like the time they talked about hate speech, and it wasn't well defined, saying this is what hate speech truly connotes. Now, what would campaign connote? Because we have some of them who are pastors. For instance, Banky W is a pastor in this church. So what if he's just preaching and just talking, and then in the end he just says something? What would define campaign? Or what would define, where's that line where you say, okay, at this point you're already campaigning, or you're just talking freely to your congregation?
That's what we expect INEC to do. They've not been able to define that. But even today, I watched I think was it Channel last night, and one of the, I think the man representing APC was appreciating the man representing Labour, and he said, "Look, this guy is my friend. He has said good things about me now. But when he goes on his Twitter, he will rubbish me." That is what we are saying. You have to define what is hate speech. The hate speech we are talking about, is it not saying that which is not right? Saying that which is not proper? Saying that which is, morally wrong? But you find this one, instead of them to address issues, they are attacking personalities, trying to find fault for where there's no fault. All of them. So it is difficult for INEC to define what is hate speech, what is campaign and things like that. A preacher like my Reverend daughter, he said, this time you must vote wisely. It's part of the campaign.
Yes, because if you even look at the whole political atmosphere right now, they are saying that campaign should start September 28th. But we've seen a lot of campaigns
going on. It has started, like I said.
How come no one is being prosecuted?
That's what I'm saying. Talk is cheap.
And all of that.
That is why I say talk is cheap. Even on radio, television.
Even at the NBA conference.
Everywhere, NBA conference.
About the
last time, it was on Gala saying that they picked up the shoe that the Shetima wore. And I told them that was not an issue. It wasn't an issue. But it made the headlines. Even social media. Let it be issue-based.
You don't think it's important to dress well or to at least represent the office you're about to do?
That is not what is. Leave what is written on the bus. Enter the bus. Leave the messenger. Look at the message.
What if it's written on the bus that kidnappers are?
No. We are not talking about being negative.
No, I'm just saying that. So sometimes you have to pay attention to all those little details.
He clarified it why he was on that. So, but the issue back home, the issue we are talking about is this: if INEC said no campaign in mosques, in churches, they must define. You see, there is always lacuna in whatever they do.
Exactly.
Because if somebody goes to a church or mosque to say one thing or the other, and INEC picks him, and when they go to court, the court will fault it that it is not defined. What is campaign? Is it, please make sure you elect good leaders. Make sure you don't mortgage your conscience. Make sure you don't take kickbacks. Make sure you don't fight. It's part of the campaign now. It's part of the awareness. So if INEC is unable to define campaign, hate speech, this is what it means. It's going to be nowhere. But then the campaign has started. My church has invited some of these. Let them come and tell us. It is in the church and the mosque.
You want INEC to visit your church, because now you're saying your church has
they should. They should come. Let them even come. What I'm trying to say here now, if a church is invited or hosting a political campaign, or not campaign, presidential campaign or governorship, candidate, let INEC send their own representative. Let them listen. Is it not there? The awareness will be created. Some people have not been voting because one, they say we know they've selected. Our vote will not count. But it is in the church or mosque, not only in the church or mosque, other places, that you say, look, it is important you go. You don't sit at home and be complaining like my Igbo brothers who sit at home without going out to vote. He has won. How can he win if you have not voted for him?
Okay, Mazi.
So it is in the, not only in the church, let me be correct.
Yes.
It is not only in the church, but the church, the pastor, the man will sound it clearly. Look, you are selling your birthright like Esau. You are mortgaging your future. Please, as far as I am your pastor, I advise you not to do the wrong thing. Advise you not to take bribe. Vote for anybody you like. That's good advice. Okay, that should be tolerated.
Okay, Mazi, the premise of this, INEX policy has to do with not stoking, tribal or religious violence,
You're talking about tribal. Is it not on the stock in trade now? That is stock in trade.
But
Well, Kwankwaso said, look, why I did not pick P2B?
But that...
Wait, hold on, my friend. Why I did not pick him? Because my Hausa brain will not vote for him.
Okay, now...
That's part of the problem.
Is not disputing the fact that it's right there in the that it's prevalent. What they are trying to do is to reduce it, to douse the tension, so that we do not get further divided along these.
We already divided until we get it right. We already divided ethnicity, religious, tribe, because that is what is playing out.
I'm not disputing.
Look, let me tell you, the present presidential candidate of APC, with due respect, during their primary, did he go to Southeast? He did not go to Southeast. He did not. I stand to be correct. He did not go to anywhere in the Southeast. Right? He did not go. Even when he was inaugurating his campaign, whatever. I'm not sure he appointed anybody from Southeast until they started attacking him. Just brought Iboko, and even Iboko that was making us was included. So we already divided, and that is what we have to correct this time around. Because look, we were born of one woman, one man. Why are we so divided? Can't we take the footsteps of our fathers, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Awolowo, and Tafawa Balewa, and the rest? They said it is not my own interest, like what Abasan just said yesterday.
Well, Mazi, we know quite well that those founding fathers were also divided. Those were regional.
Forget about that. We're talking about that.
Well, that's not even good.
Yes, I'm using them, but let me tell you. I will even tell you. Look, if time permits, I will tell you how this thing came about.
Yes.
I will tell you.
You know how it did. But Mazi, the question is this. We know there's division. We understand that quite well. What we're saying is to avoid further divisions, to avoid being, divided further along these lines you've talked about, tribalism, ethnicity, or even religion. How can INEC, reduce or douse the tension? Because that's what this policy was founded upon. The fact that they were trying to avoid, religious flares from being, lightened once again. But how can they reduce it going into the elections? We know quite well that there will still be regional interests that would, want to push for that.
INEC should come out and make bold their claims or their this and that. They should come out to assure Nigerians that this time around, your vote must count.
Okay.
We don't want violence. Why we are not allowing political rallies or campaign in churches? Because of these things, it will generate bad blood. So that is why. But for us, we must make sure that we are decent in our activities, decent in our assignment performances.
Yes.
We are giving you our words. Because some people are not happy with what is happening in INEC. Some people are not happy.
Okay.
So INEC must make people realize that they've actually repented. Let me use that word, repented. They've actually come to stay. With this, reassure us that we must trust them. And they live by what they say so that Nigerians will trust them. Otherwise, there's still division. Morality, credibility is important because they've lost all these things. They've lost all these things. But I think with what is happening, with the little assurances they are giving us, let us see whether this will move us forward.
Okay. All right, we'll just leave it there, Mazi.
Yes, that's a fine place to wrap this up.
Yes, thank you so much, Mazi. But of course, Mazi is still with us. We'll take a break. And when we come back, we'll talk about the importation of fish, poultry, eggs, and all of this farm produce in Nigeria. Please stay with us.